Alright, so first glance, when I first initially open up the basement door and head downstairs, this is my point of view. So, we'll start off on this side because I decided from the very get-go, let me see if I can turn on the flashlight here, give you guys a little bit more light. So, for whatever reason, I decided to use the first entrance. So the first thing that you get to see when you enter the basement are the bootleg collection. Now, generally, you might think that the bootleg is probably going to be like the least desirable items to display, but I don't know. I just really enjoy these figures. And I've talked about before, I always knew about Remco as a kid, and I always knew that Remco was like a bootleg, knockoff of other popular toy lines. And as kids, we had these particular type of figures. The figures that have the little bended knee and whatnot, and then the way that they shape outward like that. So I always thought that these type of figures were Remco. Now, they're Remco style, but they're not exactly Remco figures directly. Now, these are, the wrestling champs, I think, are some of the best bootlegs, generally because when you look at them, not only do they mimic the actual LJN figures of the 1980s, but they kind of bleed them in with Remco, right? And not to mention, with the figures, you look at like Hogan and Andre, Big John Studd, Jimmy Snuka, and Iron Sheik. So not only do they give you the first 5 characters that were released for LJN, but look at the card backs. The card backs are very LJN-esque as well. And of course, Wrestling Champs, they did come out with other figures as well. Here's a couple more. This could be Macho Man, as for example. At one point, I was calling that Iron Sheik before I got the other guy. So, you got Wrestling Champs. You got the Wrestling Champions. I got a couple of those guys. And then you just have the straight wrestlers, which is these guys. And so you got a little 2-pack here. And you kind of stick up with this version. Now, these wrestlers and these wrestlers, same packaging, but just different make as far as creating the actual playable wrestling figures. But, bootlegs come out with their own versions all the time. And I want to say that these are made from Sun Gold. Yep, these are made from Sun Gold. Alright, so this version set here, I have 4 out of 6 figures, which sucks. Eventually, I found these 2 guys, but that is not part of the original 6, which kind of sucks. I know I'm bouncing around, guys. I'm sorry. So, I did have this open wall space right here. So, recently, I've been getting a lot of the wrestling something wrestlers. And I've been putting those figures up here, mostly because, I want them to be somewhere displayed where they can actually be seen. Kind of bleeding them in with the bootleg figures kind of didn't make sense to me, but, we do what we can. We move further and further down. Okay, we're going to jump up again here. And we're going to look at the Mattel Superstars. So once upon a time, it went left to right. So like that would be all Series 1, all of Series 2, etc. But as I got more and more figures in, it's basically 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom. And then you kind of move on to the next Series 2 and 2 and so on. So I do keep them in order for a prolonged period of time until they kind of fall off, where like I think Series 4 is like only 2 figures and Series 5 are 2 figures because they re-released guys like Macho Man and The Rock multiple times. I think this was Series 6, I'm not mistaken. Bam Bam through Hogan. And I think this was Series 5, those 2 guys. And I think this was like Series 7 here. And then Series 8. So I feel like I'm missing a figure or 2 in here somewhere. And Series 9, I have Kane. I'm definitely missing Muhammad Ali and British Bulldog. And one of the most important aspects of my room, the second you walk down, you see the 3 grudge match carded figures. A few weeks ago, I did pick up the 4th one, but the only place to put it is right there, but that's for more Mattel Superstars, so we're not doing that. So the run room has changed a little bit. I've added these figures above here, where once upon a time, Zombie Sailors had all 5 of their figures up there. But once Zombie Sailors exploded, I had to find a new place setting for it. With the Hasbros, they are all in sequential order, so they're all segregated by series. You'll notice when you look at the first 4 characters, Hogan, Warrior, Macho Man, and Ted DiBiase, I point them out because once you get to Series 2, you got that same layout. But here are all 12 of Series 1 carded. Series 2, I have almost everything. The only thing that's missing is Dusty Rhodes. And that sucks because that's like a $1,000, $2,000, sometimes even $3,000 figure. And the rest of Series 2. Here's the thing. I think these carded figures were the first ones I put up on this wall. So if I were to go back in time, I never would have done this. I probably would never put anything on the door. And I think most definitely I would never put anything on this wall. Because, yeah, it looks really nice and everything. But the way that I kind of lined them up, I kind of have them out of order. So 1, 2, right? And then you got to move over here for Series 3. So here's your Series 3. You continue on with all Series 3. And then you kind of got to jump back to Series 4. And then Series 5, starting with Virgil. As you work your way over to Mountie and Warlord, over to Skinner. Series 6 has Ric Flair. And then, of course, from Berserker all the way down to Tatanka. Series 7. All Series 7 cards. And the reason I say I don't like this on the wall, if we ever do have to move, it sucks because that's gonna, I mean, just look at this. That's just from like one of these little plastic hooks, or they're metal hooks, but they got like little 3M glue on there. That's gonna destroy the walls. So I'm gonna skip ahead just a little bit and show you this wall over here, because this continues on all of Series 9 and then most of Series 10. Now I say most because, yes, this has majority of Series 10 right here, plus Shawn Michaels, and you would say that's complete. Which, theoretically, yeah, a little bit. But remember, you had a new release of Razor Ramon on purple, but you also had Razor Ramon re-release with black and red. That's the Series 7 re-release. So same thing with Shawn Michaels. Yeah, you got a new one with black pants, but you also had the red and white re-release from Series 7. I don't have that one carded. So that's why I say it's almost complete, but theoretically, yeah, I can say it's finished. And then all of Series 11. So I am going to pause the video in between each of these segments, just because they don't really film too well on the phone if I do a 30-40 minute video. So I'm going to end the part here, part 1, and we're going to dish out to part 2. Alright guys, so as I walk down the stairs, this is the second segment of the room. And we will start from the beginning, which is part of the Power Rangers collection. Now, as you guys know, Power Rangers came out in 1993, when I was 8 years old. Now, as an obsessive Power Rangers fan in the 90s, you would think that I would get so much play and enjoyment from Power Rangers. But in all honesty, I collected the toys like crazy, but I never, ever played with my toys. And a lot of these toys that are opened, at least a good chunk of them, are actual figures from my childhood. So, you know, I had a pretty extensive collection. Now, as I grew up and got older, from time to time, I'd buy a few others just to add to the collection, keep the collection going strong. So that is first couple parts of the Power Rangers. But I do have a lot of the bulkier, bigger boxed, some more expensive items in this cabinet as well, to go with some additional figures up here. And I do actually have even more in the storage room as well. So one of the biggest parts of this room is the LJN collection. And this wall is what it was all about. Once upon a time, this had that huge black DVD shelf that had a lot of my individual movies. Moving that out and putting these shelves up were exactly what I wanted to do, because I didn't like this whole bookshelf look to my figures. I wanted them being displayed face first. And getting all Series 1 LGN carded on the first shelf with all of Series 2 up to Paul Orndorff, it was fantastic. Problem is, once you get to Series 3, and this is one variant with red and the variant without red. Once you get to about this part here, that's where I had to stop, because the way that I situated these little the little brackets, I should have started from the ground instead of starting from the top, because it just left me very little space. If I wanted to make a fourth row right here, I wouldn't be able to put that fifth row. So I kind of put figures that fit in. And I'm sorry if I'm talking fast, guys. I've made this video 100 times, but Canva only allows you to upload a certain amount of, film, like less than a gigabyte, in order for you to be able to actually upload each clip. So that's why I'm breaking it down into about 9-minute clips or so. Now, I do have a majority of the bendies, and I think I'm missing Macho Man. I'm missing Lou Albano on individual card, and Brutus Beefcake would be the other one. I do have 1 2-pack, but I'm still looking for others. And these right here, they're just duplicates. Same figures, just on a different card backing compared to the rest of these. Got some duplicate figures down here, and my loose display of Mattel Superstars, and some additional duplicate figures here as well. So, my wife had been asking me for like the longest time, why don't I ever collect female wrestlers? And I'm like, you know what, simple answer is I just don't know any female wrestlers out there. Now, as I started watching YouTube and kind of like watching Royal Rumbles and stuff, there are certain female wrestlers that intrigue me, like Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss, excuse me. Charlotte Flair, obviously. And who was that new one? Bayley. Bayley was so psychotic and awesome. I love her. The Elite figures, I'm always asked, do I collect Elites? I have them, obviously, but I don't necessarily say that I collect them per se. Like, I don't go all out to acquire as many of the figures as I possibly can. I might pick up some here and there to add to the collection. Or like, if I got a Bam Bam Series 11, I might want to try to pick up the other figures from the series to kind of complete that line, or that series. AEW, same thing. It's something that somebody referred me to these figures a couple years ago. They knew how much I liked the Jakks Classic Superstars box sets, and these were very similar, so it definitely made sense for me to pick up some of these for the collection. So that was really nice. I don't have a lot of these Legends figures, so I decided to move them over here where there was actually ample space. My Jakks Classic Superstars. Looks great. Problem is, they don't all fit on here, and with different sizes, I want to kind of like this down here, the way that they're from the bottom to the next shelf, it's taking up that nice space. I don't want to keep putting all the Jakks Classic over here because I know they won't all fit, and I try to keep them with all the wrestlers from the same series, side by side. That's why you'll see those box sets side by side there. You'll see all of those box sets side by side over there. And of course the 2 and 3 packs over there. And yeah, when you go through these, you are going to find a lot of these Jack specific figures. A lot of them are like these, WrestleMania figures and things like that. Basically figures I really just don't care about. You got some more hidden figures back here. And then, of course, my WCW Just Toys Bendums. The carded versions. Amazing. Now, once upon a time, this had your grapplers and gimmicks. This had Mattel Retros over here. I believe this had a few zombie sailors. Because at the time, it just simply did not have enough figures. But as the lines kept exploding, oh yeah, I had to turn it strictly into grapplers and gimmicks. And since there's no more space, I kind of had to expand them into the storage room, which we'll be taking a look at in just a moment. So I am going to pause here, and we're going to take a look at the next section of the room. Alright, so next shelf. So, love it or hate it, I definitely love it, but I'm also kind of saddened a little bit. I've always wanted a house that had a built-in fireplace. I have a fireplace in one of my upstairs living rooms, but here, I really never made use out of this, and once we got like this built-in, we got the built-in wall mount, whatnot, fireplace mantle, I'm like, perfect. I used to put all my carded like horror figures on this and everything, but eventually I kind of blocked off the fireplace, put a DVD shelf up, and I carry all my loose AWA Remco figures here, plus the one Matt Mania figure I have extra, and that's actually a videotape. And I think it was important because here I'm actually able to put like all my upscale action figures, your 4 WCW figures, your 2 LJN figures, your 2 Hasbro figures, etc. Funkos, I could care less about Funkos, but they were wrestling related, so I bought a ton of these. Got them on auction, didn't pay a fortune for them, so I'm good with that. But one of my favorite things ever is the display of the entire Series 6 line. I do have a white shirt Hogan. Well, I actually have 2 white shirt Hogans on black card, and I also have a Hacksaw Jim Duggan on black card, so I do have extra black cards. And you know what? I want to keep this with the horror collection, but they fit beautifully. The Tales from the Crypt Keeper action figures, fantastic. More of your Remco style figures. I believe this came from the Major Wrestling Figure podcast. Yes, it did. And the Mannix figures. This has probably become like my number 4 favorite line or something. These, I mean, if I push it further back, it would only because they didn't have enough figures. The only one I'm missing in the UK, they have a Black Hulk Hogan with like an alternate head that looks more realistic, I guess. So I'm looking for that one. I can probably get it for less than $10, but shipping on that is going to be like over $20. I don't want to pay $30 or $40 for like a loose Mannix figure, you know what I mean? Carded figures wise, I'm still missing Black Hogan. So you guys saw my upscale Mexico bootleg figures, and not only did I have that version of Ultimate Warrior, but recently I got in another Ultimate Warrior, and even got a Sting in. Now, I think I got like an Ivan Drago or something that looks like this. I must have left that one upstairs because I don't see it down here. Yeah, let's move on. Oh man. Your IWA wrestling ring, that thing is an absolute fortune. Is it worth what you pay for it? Absolutely not. But as a collector and someone who wants to complete a line, it's very integral that you get something like that. And, these were my loose IWA wrestling figures. And I did have a couple more over here, carded figures. So, I do have a pretty nice substantial collection there. Not substantial, but pretty decent. And you know what? With all of your LJN bendies, the complete line, all of your complete LJN thumb wrestlers, you know, it bleeds in beautifully with the rest of them. I'm missing Ron Simmons and Butch Reed on card, but here is the complete loose collection of WCW Just Toys bendables. And then I recently, not too long ago, did a review of WWE Jakks Pacific thumb wrestlers. You know, they're pretty nice. This isn't my main Bendum collection. I just have a few here to fill in the blanks. More carded figures. Strikeforce Tito. White shirt referee. Probably looking at like $1,500 per. You know, AFA graded X. Another $1,500. I mean, these guys. Heart Foundation on card. $25. You know, none of these things are easy. $1,500 here. So yeah, this area is like crazy expensive. And you guys already saw this. This is just more Jakks Classic Superstars. At some point, if I ever stop being lazy and actually go through these, they're an absolute tonnage of WWF, excuse me, WWF the magazine, 1985 through I think 96 or 97. Yeah, I am missing some here and there, so it's not like every year is complete, but this is like a 50 or 60 pound folder right here, so that's going to be really interesting to go through at some point. Alright, first shelf. Well, we'll look at the duplicates on this side. Again, these Hasbros, they're duplicates. They're just kind of like, you know, filler for me. And then we get into Swamp Thing. The Kenner Swamp Thing action figures were so fantastic. I was actually dying to create this line. About a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, I was watching a YouTube video that was discussing these figures, and I absolutely love them. And I bought a ton of them. I started doing with the Swamp Thing figures that I did with American Gladiators and what I did with Real Ghostbusters. And that's buy the big box sets first, because obviously these sets cost more than your loose figures. But Swamp Thing, even individual loose figures like this, or you know, card figures are like $60 to $90. So I had to cut that off. Gladiators, just because they were there and it seemed like everybody was collecting them, I decided to pick up as many as I could. Had every intention on finishing this line, but after a while, I'm like, these are supposed to be like $2 figures. Why is everything costing me $20 to $40 a piece? So I'm like, nah, forget that. It ain't worth it. I didn't have too many of the Thundercats, so I decided to slap them in there. I actually sold a few. And of course, your Real Ghostbusters. Got a couple shelves worth. I'm pretty much done on that. I'm not picking anything else up. I was at a local toy store about a month ago, and I came across this Conan the Discoverer, or no, Conan the Explorer. Yeah, Conan the Explorer. And I had to buy it because I had this figure when we were young. And I don't know where it came from, but we had this, and I'm like, yep, I had to pick it up. And then I was kind of looking him up on eBay, and I came across other figures that kind of resembled him. You know, same type of figures with little drawstring and whatnot. That they don't talk, they just move their arms up and down. So I'm like, yeah, I got to pick up at least a couple of these for nostalgia reasons. What do you have here? Just more wrestling cards. Ninja Turtles, same thing, man. I bought an absolute tonnage, and I intended getting so much more, but there are just so many, and they're just so expensive. I just can't do it. So we got some horror figures here, and I think there's more things sitting behind it. But this is probably my primary horror display. You know, starting with the Friday, you know what? As a matter of fact, nope, I don't want to show that just yet, because I want to talk about it on one of my review videos. But A Nightmare on Elm Street, I even throw in the video game as well. What I have available for Halloween. And my Jason figures, Friday the 13th. And, okay, that's a Stranger Things DVD. You know, I never actually opened this. I didn't know if this was like a DVD case or if this was actual VHS, but I'm thinking it was a DVD. Everything's falling down. Alright. In here, just random horror editions. Damn, Jason, you look messed up. Alright. Time to pause and restart. Alright, guys, so moving on to this area. Most of these figures are going to be customs. You're going to find, you know, some original figures here and there, just duplicates. Others, you're going to find not just custom Hasbros, but you're going to come across a few Galoob customs as well. You know, like Scott Steiner, Rick Rude. You're also going to come across a Jake Roberts down here. So this does hold all of my original Series 1 and Series 2 figures. And over here, the custom Galoob figures I do have available. You have both Series 2 and Series 1 Rick and Arn Anderson, Series 1 Sting and Luger, Series 1 of Steiner Brothers, and Series 1 carded of Doom. Now I do have another Series 2 tag team with the modulator, but I'm looking for the Freebirds, not just on that 2-box, but I'm looking for them on this particular carding backing as well, which oddly enough is probably more rare than the one I just showed you. And carding wise, yes, the Galoob figures, they are all in order, and they are broken down in series, of course. So we'll stop at Dustin Rhodes and then pick back up with Dustin Rhodes. Freebirds. So among WCW Galoob carded figures, I'm missing Sid Vicious Series 2, the Steiner Brothers Series 2, Arn Anderson Series 2, and Lex Luger with robe. Alright, and because I'm kind of going backwards, guys, I don't remember if I mentioned all of this already. So generally, when I look at, you know, figures like my collection of LJNs, right? The carded figures, the posters, the loose collection, your bendies and your thumb wrestlers, they're all basically going to be found in the same general order. You're going to have Andre, Hogan, Stud, Iron Sheik. Andre, Hogan, Stud, Iron Sheik. You know, Hogan, or excuse me, Andre, Hogan, Stud, Iron Sheik, etc. So that's something to keep a look at when you're looking at my collections, especially when you're looking at like the posters all the way down, because once you get to the last poster, you could say, okay, Outback Jack. Well, who's after Outback? We look in, we got Ted Arcidi, Ken Patera. We got Vince, Bam Bam Bigelow. Well, if we continue down here, Ted Arcidi, Ken Patera, no Vince, so we have Bam Bam next, etc. And that does kind of wrap around here. I was trying to find spots for all of these posters when I was carding them, or when I was framing them, but eventually from a seller in Canada, I bought that. It basically has every poster imaginable. All of your tag teams, all of your super rare posters, like Jim by himself or Brett by himself, etc. All of your Series 6 black card posters. You know, the posters that sell for $500 each. Those type of stuff. So it was a really awesome pickup. Back on this area, we do have what I call the Robert Jackson wall, which does feature all of Robert Jackson's custom Hasbros. Well, I don't want to say all of them. It features the ones that I purchased from him. Some of these are obviously hidden away with these other box sets in the way. And he does have more stuff over here. I mean, absolutely fantastic work. And then the last 5 are just someone else. I think I got those from like Mabel Toys. On this side, I got the Hogan Retro, SD Jones, and the 2 Warriors. Over here, I think all of these, if I'm not mistaken, minus the Ric Flair and Rick Steiner over here, but everything else, not Big Josh, has come from him. So, I mean, like I said, does absolutely amazing work on LJNs, Hasbros, Galoobs, Retros, you name it. The man does everything, and it's incredible. All right, so one of the very few things that AWA, or more importantly, what Remco is synonymous with the AWA figures, no doubt. The rings, the action figures, etc. You know, your championship belts, things like that. But you don't really see Remco making a lot of WWF things. But then they came out with this super cool freaking hockey table. And the graphics are absolutely fantastic. I think I bought this just for the sake of having it. And for those simple graphics. I actually took it out of the box and wanted to display it, but it just took up way too much space. I'm like, nah, can't do it. And we get into the Ruthless Aggression figures. As you can see, I don't have a lot. I just bought a few just for the sake of saying that I have some. They kind of reminded me of, you know, like the Jakks Classic Superstars, so I kind of went all in for a bunch of them. Ended up with a few. But they're not exactly something that I plan on buying in abundance. Alright. So, we look around some of the upscaled original San Francisco figures. Some things from Ringside Collectibles. And I know Bone Breaking Action was asking me about the upscaled Freddy Krueger. And that's the one I'm talking about. That is the Matchbox Freddy Krueger figure. I think no one talks, or at least supposed to talk. But, anywho, we move back here. This is my primary Hasbro display. They all are in sequence order. So, all of Series 1 can be found here. All of Series 2. 3 and 4, 5, 6 and 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and some more fantastic customs. Alright, I am going to pause here and start on with the next clip. Alright, so when we get to this wall, we've got we got a bunch of VHS tapes. These are all wrestling clips or wrestling tapes. And then we get into the Winston Toys erasers. Now, Junkyard Dog's about a $250 figure. Hogan probably hovers anywhere between $100 to $150. Wendy Rittger is about a $400 to $600 figure. Iron Sheik, another $100 to $150. And Roddy Piper, $600 loose. If you get him carded, you're probably going to get there to about $800 to $1,200. And Jimmy Snuka, probably another $100 to $150. So, who would ever think that some darn erasers would be so expensive? Keeping in the same order as all the other LJN figures. Yes, every figure does come with their own 4 left 3D creation stand. Now, if you're wondering about, you know, figures with multiple pieces behind them, it's because there's some kind of variant. Like Greg Valentine with and without belly button, for example. Or, what's another really solid one? Macho Man. Purple trunks versus dark purple. Or pink versus purple, etc. There's also a version without any stars. I'm still looking for that one. Terry Funk has a great one. One with where he's smiling, one where he isn't. And there's a couple missing items. For example, Jake Roberts with snake or without snake on the pants. And B. Brian Blair, yellow trunks with black stripes. Or one where he's just yellow trunks. So if you find any of those, yeah, those are pretty nice to have. And so everything is displayed properly. Videotapes, again, we're looking at SummerSlam, Survivor Series, a lot of WrestleMania, a lot of Royal Rumble tapes. At some point, with the expansion of the Galoob 2-ups, we're going to have to move those out of the way to make room for new figures. Oh, my 2-up LJNs, I'm so disappointed that that anvil hand broke off. I'm going to close this door because I don't want to show off that room just yet. Alright, so at one point, this custom wall was absolutely killer. It was definitely one of my favorite pieces, parts of the room. Now it doesn't quite hold as much significance to me. So, what the heck? Okay, that was Corporal Kirch. There was a Corporal Kirchner that was sitting there. I took that out a few days ago. So, basically, when you look at these figures, right? Now, these are all wrestling writer figures. And as you notice, they are all side by side. Displayed with their own stands, what have you. This, when I first set this up, every figure was displayed like this, and it was perfect. That's exactly how I wanted it. But then, as I kept acquiring more and more figures, what happens? Now when you're looking at them, they become staggered to kind of make space. IRS is the last one there. I don't remember who I got that Ricky Dragon Steamboat figure from, but it is such an awesome piece. And then this is the Mark Hackenberg shelf with all of his amazing figures. I think Mark is just behind Rob. They're my two favorite customizers. I mean, they do absolutely amazing work. Okay. My wife did the Hogan and Santa Claus. She actually did pretty awesome work considering that she's not an artist. This right here is the Rob Jackson wall, or the Rob Jackson LJNs. So, and this was what I was talking about. It went from side to side to where they had to be kind of situated to the, you know, at an angle, and I don't like that. But I want to keep all the figures together, so I had no choice. Or then you come down here to the Raider Nation shelf, and now all of a sudden all the figures are staggered. Why? Because I'm trying to keep them all together, and again, you just have very little space. You got a couple of Print Fury customs from Kevin Pelkey, those two Earthquake figures, and Lord Alfred Hayes, all the way onward. This is all from the Raider Nation. I can't remember where these figures came from. And, of course, Random Treasures. They were side by side at one point, but now they're just staggered. Not the way I want to display the figures, but you got to kind of make do with what you've got available, or space available. And as you know, these figures starting from Rick Steiner. This is John Ruggiero Customs. Oh, so I'm pretty sure someone's going to ask about the baggies in the back. You know, the referee, Big Boss Man, the original Haku, Rick Rude, Warlord, Ultimate Warrior, and Andre Giant Series 2, Bam Bam Bigelow. Well, once upon a time, the original figures, I didn't have them. So I decided to buy them from Random Treasures, and when I would eventually get the real one in, obviously I would have no more need for display, so I bag them up, and now they're background fodder. Alright, so we left off in John Ruggiero, and I have no idea who made all of these figures. Yeah, I think a good chunk of these I bought from Buddy Daily on eBay, Stangergq. I don't think he's the artist. I think this was just his personal collection that he was selling off, but, you know, still pretty freaking amazing figures. Yeah, so we'll look over here real quick. Ringing cage for the LJNs. Nothing really special about this. This is just a bunch of duplicates. So generally, if I have a nice set of duplicate figures, I'll end up keeping them because I like their play pose. And, you know, if I ever want to goof off one day and have fun, I don't have to take the stuff. I don't have to mess up my display. I just have them right over here. So that's pretty awesome to have. And then all of the AWA Remcos. All of these customs were part of the Remco tournament I made, where I finished up a few months back. And to this day, I still think the Remco tournament was one of my favorites to make. So many absolutely amazing additions to the collection. And, you know, if I'm going to have loose displays, guess what? I got to have carded displays, right? So I do have quite a number of LJN thumb wrestlers on card. And a lot of these cards are like crazy freaking expensive too. I would say I probably have half the quantity or close to it. So over here, this is where I kind of sit my computer when I come down here to film. You know, black card, both Duggan and white shirt Hogan. The Hogan was a duplicate, of course. This is my only tag teams dual sets. So I am going to move over to the zombie sailors in the next clip. Alright, so once upon a time, the door leading out to the garage held my original 5 zombie sailor figures. So basically these 5 minus the pink pants Sabu. Now, eventually, as Zombie Sailors expanded their roster, I had to find a new area in order to display these figures, in order to keep them all in one area. Now, one of the things you'll notice, they go from black card to red card in Series 2, right? But the original design for Hasbro Series 12, or what they refer to as the unreleased Hasbro Series 12, was supposed to be orange card. And this Jeff Jarrett figure was actually the one that was slated to be released. So I like the fact that they not only made the Hasbro version of that Jeff Jarrett, but they also kept it on an orange card. So that was pretty smart marketing, I think, by Heels and Faces. Now, a lot of these figures, they are going to come with duplicates with some kind of variant. I talked about the green and pink Sabu, right? Now, you're going to get Bruiser Brody with and without vest. Additionally, you're going to come across a black and blue strap of Andre the Giant. Eventually, you are going to get a second slick, but for right now, you do have the gray one on hand. Again, there's a blue version that is still going to come out eventually. Mark Sterling, I think he had one that was either a gray suit or a black suit. I don't really remember. And I think it was like 1 of 500 or something. They sold out in seconds. I couldn't pick that one up, which sucked. That would have been a nice variant to have. They also came out with 2 Johnny Garganos. So, the original Johnny Gargano is on a red card. And the figure looks fantastic. About a $40 to $60 figure if you were to purchase this on eBay. Now, if you want the variant, they came out with Johnny Gargano on blue card. And this one probably goes for anywhere between $125 to $250. What's the difference? Pfft, dang nothing. Blue or red, whichever one you like better. That's it. But if you buy it on blue card, you're basically paying twice the price or more. Yeah, is it worth it? I paid up because I'm desperate for variants. So, this storage room, I made changes. And what some changes I have made. We'll start off with the retro shelf first. So, I have some big hefty figures on this side, right? Looking sharp. About, I want to say around June, July, August of 23, I decided that I wanted loose figures to go along with my carded figures. So I started purchasing as many as I could. I think I got to like 40 figures in a reasonable amount of time. And then I kind of put it on hold for a while. But eventually I went all in and tried to acquire every single figure loose. So the same thing that I do with my original San Francisco figures, I put the loose figure right in front of their carded counterpart. The toughest thing about getting them loose, you know, if you're paying like $60, $100, $125 for like a carded figure, and now you're having to pay $100 for something you paid $40 carded for loose, it hurts. There are just so many expensive figures. $100 for a carded Ric Flair, so be it. But $65, let's say, for a loose Ric Flair, to me wouldn't be worth it. And I just don't value the Mattel Retros the same way that I do Hasbro, so I'm not always interested in paying up a whole lot more. We're gonna skip some shelves. So, you know, Ringside Collectibles came out with 2 releases. Each time they had 2 of their own tag team sets. So that is an additional 8 figures carded and their 8 figures loose. Recently, Mattel Creations came out with a stud, Hogan, Muhammad Ali, and Wendy Richter figure. I do have a second set, but I just never took it out of the package. That's fine. It's good. It's not going anywhere. So I did show on the front of the room where I had some WWE Bend-Ems. Around Christmas Day, or maybe the hour before Christmas Eve, and working my way into Christmas Day, I just went so WWE Bend-Em obsessed. I probably made 30 purchases in that evening. Now we're talking midnight, 1 a.m., and I'm on eBay making offers like crazy, buying all these things. I guess I may have seen like a YouTube video, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe I am more interested in these things than I had originally thought. So I try to do the same thing I do with other things and keep them in line, you know, Series 1. I think this is all Series 1. And then I put all the loose figures in order as they're shown on card. But the more figures I get in, or to fill in spaces, I might just put random figures somewhere. Then you get like Series 2 or whatever, and, you know, kind of do the same thing. But eventually they end up out of order. You know, Series 3, I think maybe 4 through 7 or 4 through 5. I forget how they break down. I don't do a good job of separating them over here. But I just purchased an absolutely massive amount of carded figures. And kind of same thing, you know, get all these loose figures in it as well. But I didn't stop with just the WWE Bend-Ems, the Just Toys Bend-Ems from 95 through 2001, right? I went into Ringside Collectibles, and I purchased box sets of their bendable figures as well. You got some bendable figures. That's a package, but I also got that complete package loose. You know, some more Bend-Ems over here. Now, this is part of the WWE Bend-Ems, so this one actually works. But I also got these, right? And the one package, I said was a 4-pack. That's exactly what this was, except one package. So, the WWE Bend-Ems. Wow. I really want this to be displayed in the front room, but lack of space. So I've kind of been desperate and finding, you know, pulling things off of these shelves in order to have more storage or more display for my action figures. Alright, so let's pause and move on to the next scene. Alright guys, so we've taken a look at shelves 1, 2, and we've looked at part of 3. We have looked at both the Ringside Collectibles, their 2 releases, as well as the most recent Mattel creations. But we've also got figure collections, right? We've got the 4 figures, the 2 different variants for their bone crunching action, as well as 2 of their variants from the retro style Hasbro version. And Chelsea Green, she is, I guess, considered part of the Hasbro. Now, these figures aren't really classified as wrestling figures, but over-the-top man figures are just so good that I did want to have them situated out in the open where they could be seen. And the 1 carded figure. Now, a couple of the bell-to-bell 2-packs, both bloody and non-bloody versions I have back here to go along with the couple of singles and the dual packs for the bell-to-bell figures. Toys I keep on the outside, but when I ran out of space, I started putting Series 3 and some other figures, variants and whatnot, out here. This is IWC. And then we got all of the big rubber guys. Series 1, Series 2, Axe and Smash, but they each had 2 variants. And then you get to Series 3, and then Series 4. Still waiting on Series 5 with the British Bulldogs. Epic Toys with Powers of Pain, Demolition, and the Bulldogs. And we've got ourselves another golden figure down here from Cello Toys. These are, I believe, mostly Series 3 and 5 of the Jack Specific Bone Crunching figures, carded. Now, because I don't have any more space for the Grapplers and Gimmicks figures, this is now where the new figures are situated. Okay. Alright. So, once upon a time, all of these shelves were packed with, blankets and office supplies, stuff like that. And I ended up moving it out all to the garage. That's how bad my problem is right now, that I'm taking up all this space for collections. Now, these aren't actually baseball cards. These are actual wrestling trading cards that I've been collecting in abundance. So I'm looking forward to potentially going through those in the future. And over here, I even have the Macho Man, all the Hasbro style trading cards. So that's pretty freaking cool as well. Stupid batteries running low on this phone. Hopefully everything records appropriately. Got some duplicate figures here. I don't know if you can make it out. Not with the camera turned off, but yeah, battery's too low to use a flash. So there's a lot of the NES video games and all of these Nintendo games. These are just wrestling video games. So I really like this. Original San Francisco. Now, it's just a duplicate, but I bought it because it's an error card. Alright. Guys, I'm actually going to pause and charge this phone because I want the flash on, because I feel like it's going to be a little bit dark over there. So I am going to pause here and we will continue in a bit. Alright guys, so out in the main room, I used to have all of these figures displayed loose. For example, I had all of these guys on the black shelf. I had all of your grapplers and gimmicks. All of your Cello Toys were in front of their carded figures, and Zombie Sailors were all sitting out on the outer shelf out in the main display room. But I figured, you know what? Since I was utilizing this space, I might as well come back in here and put all the loose displays together. So you got 3 different Mabels in here. Now, I am missing the 4th Mabel, which was the mail away Mabel. If you guys remember, once they came out with This Men on a Mission, they came out with another Mabel and Mo. No card back. It was just a plastic baggie. And where these guys were like $38, $40 a piece, those 2 individual figures came out to be like $150 just because it was a paint change. And like I said, it was a closed baggie, not even a card back. I did not want to waste the money at the time, and now I'm dying to have those figures, so it kind of sucks. I did get a loose Ahmed Johnson recently, but due to manufacturer error, the figure actually falls apart, crumbles into several different pieces. So I sent it out to my buddy Rob Jackson. He's gonna put some kind of filler in there and actually fill up and seal, glue off the Ahmed Johnson figure so that it's stationary. Which means that D-Train version 1 and 2, or not D-Train, Smoke Train, variant 1 and 2 are the only ones I'll be missing from this collection as of right now. Now, Epic Toys, as you know, came out with Powers of Pain, Demolition, and British Bulldogs. I don't have Powers of Pain loose, unfortunately. And of course, because Epic Toys and Cello Toys are the same, I just combine them together. Still a ton of Cello Toys that I have, that I don't have, not even on card. But it's just so hard to find all those figures. And I'm doing pretty well on the Zombie Sailors loose figures. Now I said, Pink Pants Sabu, which actually I just purchased another one recently, or a Black Strap Andre. I do have one on card still that I can open up if necessary, but no vest, Bruiser Brody. I mean, do you really need all those? Not really. As long as you have one option right, you're good. Back here, I just have like some little small horror figures. I mean, nothing major. Next week, I am going to do a lot of reviews on these figures. And when I stopped collecting them, I was like maybe 10 or so. But in like the last couple of weeks, I probably picked up 30 or 40 of these darn box sets. NECA's Toonie Terrors on single card. And then you've got like these dual packages that look pretty amazing. So I'm really looking forward to doing those reviews with you guys as well. Now, I had been getting in a lot of Power Rangers toys. Have I been actively searching for them? No. I just come across a seller that has them on auction, and I win a bunch of them for a great price, so I picked up a ton. And since I don't have any more room in my display case, I decided to kind of come over here and pick them up and lay some out over here. Down here, obviously a lot of rearranging is going to have to happen. These are the Rushmaster or Rush Collectibles remasters. The fourth member, I never got any of his figures, and I'm still missing the third variant for Jonah, so still some figures that I need to get in. Alright, over here from Bakari, I talked about him plenty. Harvey Snuts, Hulk, $0125 on Bakari. All of these figures right here are all from his account. I don't think he's the customizer. I just think he's the seller. Maybe his personal collection. And some of the figures like Kane. Alright, I much prefer this version of Paul Orndorff. I feel like the Colonel Mustafa is probably the best Iron Sheik figure I've seen. Goldust. Okay, George Steele is all incredible. Some truly amazing figures. This is something I kind of regret doing. Zombie Sailors is on the front side. So it would make sense that I would continue Zombie Sailors on the back side, but I ended up putting just a bunch of other random stuff on here. Especially if they were big, bulky figures. Now, I really love being able to display my monsters, especially the Freddy Krueger. But monster bootleg figures, pretty spectacular. And, of course, my Mannix figures. I'm still missing Black Hulk Hogan. So I've got Red Hulk Hogan. And now I do have both variants for Shawn Michaels, both blue and black. So we're getting there. I know at some point I was supposed to do like some kind of video on ribbons and stuff. Forgot who asked me about it when I was doing my my real chat videos talking about my military service and stuff. I just completely blanked on that. Alright, so where did we move on? So let's look at some more Jakks Classic Superstars. What I really like about these is the fact that they're kind of like LJN-esque. Now I am missing quite a few of these. Now those are just my box sets that I actually knew about. Some of them I have boxed and loose. Some of them are just loose. So that's some of the others. I wanted to do a review on those as well. So that's going to be doing. Alright, I am going to pause here, and hopefully the next clip will be the last one for the video. Alright, so at one point this shelf, these two shelves, were right over here. And then my flood happened, and I decided to move everything over and kind of build these brackets and shelves. I love the way it looks, but I really wanted to keep this door open, and that just can't happen. Original San Francisco toy makers, as you guys know, it's a spin-off of Galoob. When Galoob lost their business, David Galoob and family moved on to Original San Francisco. Pretty much create a very similar style of figures to the Galoob, but they also kind of mixed in a nice LJN flavor as well to their action figures. This top shelf is basically all of your 2-packs with all the different variants and whatnot. And then we finally get into Series 1. And move on to Series 2. So it goes black card, purple card, blue card. Series 3. Dark Skin Jimmy Hart, Series 1. Series 4 is what I call Heels and Faces. And of course, I consider Vibrating Figures to be Series 5. Now, this was the first time that I ever put, you know, loose figures in front of their carded figures. And I love the way that looks. And I was doing the same thing with all the cello toys. But just recently, I moved them all inside the storage room. Do I regret it? I don't think so. I still like the way that they all look together. From Mattel, we've got the monsters. We've got zombies. We got more zombies. Some more cello toys. We didn't even look at these zombies. And, you know, Mattel, they don't stop there. They even came out with the mutants. And we already looked at all these, but it's a nice little refresher. And, of course, the WWE Masters of the Universe. And per usual, we kind of have to look behind the packages because sometimes I do have a lot of items staged behind other items. So this shelf, once upon a time, was my horror section, but as you can see over there, there's no space for the masks, so I decided to just keep them here. And this is basically the last section of single carded Jakks Pacific. And, you know, I had figure collection figures here, and epic toys here, zombie sailors here. Down here in the ring, I had grapplers and Gimmick loose figures, so I decided in there would be perfect. Now these figures, they're just WCW and Hasbro figures. Some of my favorites that I keep extra, you know, in case I ever want to goof off and wrestle with them. You know, kind of same thing I do with the LJNs. Alright, so this wall continues on with Series 3 as it moves on to Series 4 and Series 5 of all the LJN figures. As you know, there are certain figures out of place because I got a lot of these figures in acrylic cases. And look at that, guys. I actually did make use and find a place to stage those ghetto thumb wrestlers. So these are my 3-packs and 2-packs of the Jakks Classic Superstars box sets. If I ever had to sell anything in this room to make space or earn extra money, Jakks Classic Superstars would probably be one of the first things to go. But I don't think I'd want to touch any of the 3-packs, and there's very, very few, if any, of the 2-packs I would actually give up on because I really enjoy them. But the one thing I want to display more than anything is my Legends of Professional Wrestling. I mean, these figures are absolutely killer. And then they did away with these awesome card backs and moved to these. I'm like, no thank you. All right. Recently we did a review on the new incoming Dragon and Sonny Ono figure, and this was the one that we looked at. Took them out of the package, took a look at them, but I recently came across two more variants that, you know, with my OCD, I had to pick up. So adding on to the light blue Dragon figure, we add like this teal version, and move on from black suit to green suit for Sonny Ono. And another one, orange suit, Sonny Ono. And Ultimo Dragon is in pink outfit. You know, this Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior Tonka wrestling buddies. These are the these are two pillows that I actually had from childhood. So we got these when I was probably like 5 or 6 years old. So this is, if you want to know what the oldest item in my collection is, it's these two guys. Another couple talking wrestlers. Those are loose to go with the carded collection. And of course, the Jakks Pacific carded figures. I think we've looked at everything. At some point, I think I'm going to want to move these into the storage room. With the NECA Toonie Terrors, I feel the same way. I got a lot of Series 1 here, and I got a bunch more that I just gotten recently. So when I do my NECA Toonie Terrors review video, I am probably going to keep them down here, and then when I'm done with the video, I'm going to move them upstairs and kind of keep them in one of the shelves in one of the spare bedrooms. That way I can turn that storage room strictly into wrestling related stuff. So that means the Power Ranger stuff got to go as well. The masks, I don't know. I might move the masks upstairs. I think that would be pretty cool. Yeah, guys, I think we've hit on everything. I don't think there was anything that I didn't look at. If you see something that I didn't talk about and you would like to know about, just please let me know in the messages, and I'll do a follow-up video for you guys. So, just kind of do one quick look around. I tell you guys, every time I come down to this room, I am super excited. It doesn't matter how many times I look at these things, they just bring so much joy. And I have not been a long-term collector. I've only been collecting for about 2.5 years. So everything you're looking at has come in the last 30 months or so. Minus a few items here or there, such as the wrestling buddies, but no, actually wrestling related, that is it. That's literally the only two things I've had wrestling related. Oh man, so excited. This was a painful video to make because I had to keep filming this video over and over again. And this last time I had to break it down to like 7 to 9 minute clips in order for it to be uploaded appropriately. But we'll definitely get the whole thing out to you guys. And hopefully you guys enjoy. Please, if you know anybody that's interested in this type of stuff and would like to learn more or see more collections, please send them my way. Always looking to build on my subscriber list as much as possible. I would love to do some real chat videos live, or just, you know, doing a room tour live. But unfortunately, until I hit 1,000, I can't even go live on YouTube. So another reason I'm looking for 1,000 subs. As always, everybody, guys, thank you so much for watching. Your comments, your viewership, your subscriptions, it means the world, and you guys are the best. Thank you. I will talk to you in the comments and see you in the next video. Goodbye, everybody.